That's what she always says. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
We need to first go to Vayikra, chapter 26.
No. Ouch.
When everybody's there, let me know.
I'm there.
Okay.
I want you to go to verses 14 and 15, and please read.
But if you will not listen to me and will not perform all these commandments, if you consider my decrees loathsome, and if your being rejects my ordinances, so as not to perform all my commandments, so that you annul my covenant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, do you have the crown?
Yes, sir.
Please read from the crown, please.
What was the verse reading?
Chapter 26 of Vayikra, verses 14 and 15.
26, 14, and 15?
Yes.
If you do not listen to me and do not fulfill all these commandments, if you reject my statutes, and if your soul despises my laws by not fulfilling all of my commandments, and you break my covenant.
Thank you. This short little passage carries a lot of information, and most of it is overlooked because it's glossed over every year when people read it. In verse 14, if you look at it, the very first thing is spoken of, if you don't listen to me. This is before we talk about all the parts of Torah that he's not happy with the way that they're dealt with. First thing he says is, if you don't listen to me. So if you don't know how to listen to him, if he has not revealed himself to you yet, if he's not speaking to your heart, then how are you going to do the rest of it?
You can't.
Now, please understand something here. We know that the sons of Aharon sit in the seat of Moshe. We know their job is to teach Torah as the highest four teachers in the land. We know that the highest judges in the land. Yet, here it's speaking to every son of Israel. If you do not listen to me, so first off, we have to establish what it takes to be able to listen to him. And then whether or not we're willing to do that. Now, listening to him can be getting our own heart and mind right, a joining of the two before him. It can be listening to his Torah teachers. It can be listening to somebody when you make a misstep and you fall a little bit, maybe on your knees, on your face, and somebody else around you says, you've forgotten this mitzvah and it needs to be done this way. Sometimes it just takes another person to remind you of your compromise, your disobedience. So there's going to be more than one way it takes to listen to him. This is important to understand because it was given by the finger of fire. Okay. Now, this is also given in the present tense. If you do not listen to me, it doesn't say if you did not or if you will not. It says if you do not. So this means it's ever present with us. This is the prerequisite before everything else is spoken of here.
I know. I look down there.
Once we can listen to him through whatever fashion he designs in our lives at any given moment that we might respond to,
What's the water? Ethic. Ethic.
we can't do the rest of it.
You want the water?
And then it says that if you do not fulfill all these mitzvot, if you reject my statutes, if your soul despises my laws by not fulfilling all my mitzvot, the setting up the basis here, this is what happens. And when it does, you break his covenant. This is a more straightforward passage than others that we have looked at. Now, let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, keep this particular passage in mind. Go with me quickly to Bamidbar, chapter 5.
That was numbers.
Numbers, chapter 5. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, go to verse 6. Read verse 6.
Speak to the children of Israel, a man or woman who commits any of man's sins by committing treachery against Hashem or toward Hashem, and that person shall become guilty.
Thank you. Now here it says when we commit a sin, by committing that sin, incurring guilt, we act treacherously against the Most High. Now let's go back to what we just read in Vayikra.
I have a quick question, Rabbi.
Okay.
So we just read in Numbers 5, any man or woman who commits any of the sins. And most of the time throughout Torah, when it's addressing, it says sons of Israel. So when it says sons of Israel, are those only applicable to men? How do we tell?
Sons of Israel is representative of men and their families
Okay.
because the men represent their families. Married or single, men represent their families.
All right. Okay.
Now, back in Vayikra, if you do not listen to me and do not fulfill all these commandments, if you reject my statutes, and if your soul despises my laws by not fulfilling all my commandments, you break my covenant. So whenever we go against him and his Torah is teaching, first we act treacherously against him. By acting this way, we break covenant with him. By sinning, disobeying some area of Torah. Now keep this in mind. Because this is the definition we have between these two verses, these two passages, of actually breaking covenant with the Most High. And is done by disobedience. And it's pretty straightforward here.
Pretty much.
Now, please go in the same chapter 26 to verse 44.
Did you say 44?
Yes,
26,
sir.
44, yeah.
All right. But even so, while they are in their enemy's land, I will not reject them, and I will not loathe them to exterminate them, to break my covenant with them. For I am Godhe Wahe, their Elohim.
The Most High has given his word. He will not break covenant with us no matter what we're doing.
Okay.
That kind of puts a damper on replacement theology. Now, if you would please go to Judges chapter 2.
So, Patim. Two. I don't know. What verse, Rob?
I didn't give a verse yet. I was waiting for everybody to get there.
Well, I'm there.
All right.
What?
I want you to read verse 1.
An emissary of Yahweh went up from Gilgal to Bakim. He said, I brought you up from Egypt, and I brought you to the land that I swore to your fathers. And I said, I shall never annul my covenant with you.
In the crowd, it says, I shall never revoke my covenant with you.
Uh-huh.
Another one that puts a damper on replacement theology. There's no grounds for it. It's religious doctrine and theology.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hold up. Now keep this in mind. He does not let us go. It doesn't mean he's going to make life easy on us. It doesn't mean he won't take us home.
Right.
It doesn't mean he won't put us through things.
Mm-hmm.
But it says he will not let us go.
Right.
And even as a Father from heaven, this is also an indicator of how we treat our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We might have to make corrections, but what we do not do ever is abandon them or forsake them.
Right.
We can act no differently with our earthly children and grandchildren than the Most High acts with us. And since ultimately we are meant to be the bride and the wife, it's also an indicator of how we're supposed to feel about our wives. And the prophet Malachi, he says very forwardly, he hates divorce. No matter what anybody says or feels about it, that's what he said.
Right.
That's another area of replacement theology. So if that's coming from him, that should be giving us an eye opener, at least a little bit, in the area. Now, if you will in turn go with me to Psalms chapter 89. Everybody there?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
getting there. All right.
Here in this psalm, if you'll start in the area if you'll start in verse 20, and if you'll read through 33, thank you.
Psalms 89, starting in verse 20. Then you spoke in a vision to your pious prophets and said, I have placed my assistance upon the mighty one. I have exalted the one chosen from among the people. I have found David, my servant, with my holy oil I have anointed him, and whom my hand shall be established to assist him. My arm also shall strengthen him. The enemy shall not exact from him, nor shall the iniquitous person afflict him. And I will smash his tormentors from before him, and strike those who hate him. And my faithfulness and my kindness shall be with him, and through my name his power shall be exalted. And I will set his hand upon the sea, and his right hand upon the rivers. He will call to me, "You are my Father, my Elohim, and the rock of my salvation." I too will make him a firstborn, supreme over the earth's kings. I shall preserve my kindness for him forever, and my covenant shall remain true to him. And I shall establish his seed eternally, and his throne like the days of heavens. If his sons should forsake my Torah and not walk in my judgments, or if they should profane my statutes and not observe my commandments, then I will punish their transgression with the rod and their iniquity with plagues.
Thank you. Now, what you've just read is considered prophecy in at least 3 areas. Now, read the very next verse.
But I shall not utterly remove my kindness from him, and I will not be false to my faithfulness.
Yep.
You guys with me? Therefore, we're laying some groundwork here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you remember in John 17, Yeshua prayed,
Mm-hmm.
I have kept all the people you've given me by the power of your name, the name that you gave me. Now, what does it say again in verse 25?
And my faithfulness and my kindness shall be with him, and through my name his power shall be exalted.
Sounds a little bit like those 2 different areas run together a little bit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm sharing with you what you already know, let me know so I don't beat a dead horse. Now, if you would please, see if you can find Amos. We used to make reference to Amos calling him the complaining prophet. He was always complaining about the people before the Most High. Are you there?
No,
After
If you're in
Joel.
the crown, if you're in the crown, it'll be on page 724.
thank you. The books are arranged differently.
In the crown?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christian Bible I grew up with.
Oh, well, they're rearranged in the Christian Bible. They're in the right order here.
I believe you. Yep. I
Upside
believe
down
that.
and inside out.
Now, here in chapter 4, what I want you to do is read from verse 1 and read through verse 3 to begin with.
Go ahead. You want to read? Someone else want to?
Hear
I'm
this.
still looking for it.
Oh, okay.
1356. Okay.
Wait, you said Amos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was in Micah. Same neighborhood.
In the Crown, it's page 724.
Okay.
7.
724.
All right.
All right. So I'm there in 4.
All right. In what verses again?
The first 3 verses.
I'll read it. Hear this prophet, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountain of Samaria, who oppress the poor, who crush the destitute, who say to their masters, bring, so we may drink. The master Yahweh Elohim has sworn by his set apartness that there are days coming upon you when you will be carried off on shields, and your posterity in fishing boats. Though through breaches in the wall, they flee, every woman straight ahead, and you will cast off your haughtiness, the word of Yahweh.
Okay, you notice in the beginning of verse 2, it says that he swears by his Kodesh. Here we have an example that not only does he swear by his own name, he swears by his Kodesh. However, we're only given permission to swear by his name. We're never given permission to swear by his Kodesh.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What is Bashan?
I'm going to let you look that up. You will like it because I got you to do it. Now, I'd like you to turn to chapter 5 in Amos.
Huh.
Now, you remember I've shared with you things about the house of Yaakov, the house of Israel, and the kingdom. And the house of Israel, they're already too observant, and they start becoming righteous before the Most High.
That's interesting.
And yet, in the writing of Revelations, it says the righteous will die in certain areas, in certain places, certain times. It is the house of Israel that occurs to. Keep that in mind. They are righteous in Israel. And yet still, they had to go through some changes in the house of Israel to make that decision to be that way. So now, I want you to read the first 6 verses of chapter 5.
Care to read, Mark?
Hear you this word which I tape up against you, even a lamentation, O house of Israel. The virgin of Israel is fallen. She shall no more rise. She is forsaken upon her land. There is none to raise her up. For thus says Master Elohim, the city that went out by 1,000 shall leave 100, and that which went forth by 100 shall leave 10 to the house of Israel. For thus says the Master unto the house of Israel, seek ye me, and ye shall live. What seek not Bethel, nor enter into Gilgal, and pass not to Beersheba, for Gilgal shall surely be go into captivity, and Bethel shall come to nothing.
One more.
Seek the Master, and ye shall live, lest he break out like the fire in the house of Joseph, and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel.
Thank you. Now, please go to Yeshayahu. Chapter 35. What'd you say, Hannah? Isaiah, chapter 35. Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Yet and still, no matter how much you've read already, in chapter 35 of Yeshayahu, read verses 8, 9, and 10.
I'll read it. Let's see. A path and a road will be there. It will be called the road of set apartness, and no impure person will traverse it. It will be for them, the wayfarer. Even ignorant ones will not go astray there. There will be no lion there. The boldest of animals will not ascend it, will not be found there. The redeemed will walk there. And then the redeemed of Yahweh will return and come to Zion with glad song, with the eternal gladness on their hands. They will attain joy and gladness, and sadness and sighing will flee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, if you remember when the Most High called all the hosts of heaven to court, and the adversary had to go as well as a requirement, the Most High asked him, what had he been doing? Do you remember his response to the Most High? What did he say?
Crow.
Yeah.
As what?
As a lion roaring.
Yes. Seeking who he might devour. But it never says he devours anybody.
Right.
So, that being said, on that path walking with the Most High, in verse 9 it says, there will be no lion there. What does that tell you? The redeemed will walk there. He's describing the walk with him. He orders our footsteps.
Ow.
This is the path he puts us on.
Right.
Now, you've seen it now. You've read it for yourself. Some of these different areas. One, no matter how we stray, he'd rather take us home than break covenant with us. So when you see others around you that start to break your heart because they start acting out, you don't have to be afraid that the Most High is going to abandon them. You don't have to be afraid of what he's going to do. The only thing you should take assurance in is even if he's got to take them home, he's not going to let them go. It says so. Once they belong to him. The catchphrase is once they belong to him. Now, because of this verse, a lot of Christians believe, as I've been told, once saved, always saved. Now, that doesn't mean because he's taking you home that you're going to be in a rose garden. He's not going to break covenant with you, but he's definitely going to make sure you lose those impurities as he refines you one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I needed to use these different passages to help lay a foundation, to generate a bit of a premise, because we've discussed things within fruit of the Spirit quite a bit. You know that the Spirit itself is always Kodesh.
Mm-hmm.
It's always true. It's always redeeming. Okay? Now, if something is going to be redeemed, what is the way that it redeems it? What's the mechanism that makes that redeeming work? Say again?
Fruit of the Spirit.
I didn't hear you.
Fruit of the Spirit, the Ruach. Yeshua's hand command.
I'm just saying fruit of the Spirit. Okay? In order for that redeeming to work, in order for that Kodesh to be applied, what has to be happening? If you look it up on the Hebrew side, you'll find that to be redeemed, you have to be ransomed.
Mm-hmm.
They're synonyms with each other, but they don't exactly mean the same things. We have been ransomed, which means what?
We've been bought.
Paid for.
Say it again, Mark.
Paid for.
Yes, say it a little louder.
Been paid for.
Yes.
Sorry.
So in order for us to be redeemed, what has to happen to us? We have to be paid for. We first have to be ransomed, then we can be redeemed. Now, when were we redeemed?
Before
When
the
were we
foundation of the
ransomed?
world. Before the foundation of the world.
That is correct. Can you take it a little bit farther?
A little farther before that, or what?
Can you add to that a little bit more? Can you take it a little bit farther? What happened at the foundation of the world?
He was slain for the foundation of the world, and we were bought from him. We were bought for him or by him. And
would you repeat that, please?
Yeah. He was slain before the foundation of the world, so he bought us. Huh?
Who?
Yeshua, the right hand of power.
Based on what? What does it say about the foundation of the world?
It says before the foundation of the world, he was slain before the foundation of the world.
What about him?
Okay, hold on. The lamb that was worthy to be slain.
To be slain. Yeah.
Yes. The key word is not the being slain. The key word is being worthy to be slain.
Okay.
So based on that, the foundation of the world, now let's get back to that. So when were we ransomed?
when the lamb was found worthy to be slain.
Yes.
An acceptable offering.
Now, say this again. He was found worthy to be slain.
Right. He was found worthy
It
to be.
doesn't say, it does not say that because he was slain, he was worthy.
No. It says he was found worthy to be slain, and then he was found, the lamb was found worthy, and then he was slain.
Yes. This is the mechanism. The mechanism was found, the lamb was found worthy to be slain.
Mm-hmm.
So we could not have been ransomed before that happened.
Right.
So where were we when we were ransomed? What was our state of being
With him.
for us to be ransomed
Mm-hmm.
at the foundation of the world?
Like Mark said, we were with him.
Was that your best attempt at redirection? Like
Who?
Mark said?
No, he did say it. I was just repeating. I was just saying. I was.
In rabbinical Judaism, in Talmud and Kabbalah, they'll say, based on what this rabbi said.
Okay, based on
So
what
they
Mark
don't have to
said.
say, they don't say it in their own name with their own opinion. They base it on what somebody else said that carries more weight.
Yeah, but then I would have had to use you.
Oh, a son of Baharan. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, you find it necessary to do that. Now, I'm not making fun of you. I'm using your moment here to give an example. Yeshua did the same thing. He said, I came to say what my father told me to say. I came to do what my father told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
He did the very same thing. He did it because based on Torah, what do we need? What we do is required for what we say and what we do.
2 witnesses.
Yes.
He said it is written.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, and I was in
Thank
the
you.
with Mark. That's why I used his name.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't reprimanding you. I was trying to get you to move forward.
Well, eventually I got there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what made the lamb worthy to be slain?
To show you on
Shabbat Shalom, Gideon.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom. Get in.
Given Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
What made the lamb worthy to be slain?
The fruity boar.
Say it again.
The fruity boar.
Say it again.
The fruity boar.
How was he able to bear the fruit?
He is filled with
Only
the
the spirit can bear. Only the ruach can bear fruit.
yeah. I think he's filled with the rock.
You're close though. I was hoping you were going to follow through. You usually do pretty good with that.
And he kept
So
the Torah,
what made the lamb worthy to be slain?
keeping the Torah.
The word.
We know three things about the Ruach and the fruit of the Ruach. What's the first thing we know?
Always truth.
Reproducing.
Always Kodesh. What made the lamb worthy to be slain?
He was set apart by the Ruach.
He was Kodesh. And being made with all the Kodesh he was given, that made him fully Kadosh. With the references I gave you a moment ago, what did it say about the house of David?
He's not going to forsake his covenant.
And the right family line.
The house of David, the throne of David, was going to stand continually. So when the right hand of power was incarnated as a human being, it was done so through him being Judean, born into the house of David. Actually, that English translation on the writing above his head on the execution stake, King of the Jews, do you have any idea what it really said?
Doesn't it claim to be?
Malek Judean is actually what it said. King of Judeans. Now, this mechanism of what made the lamb worthy to be slain, the Kodesh, being Kodesh, to be worthy to be slain, was what he needed so that he could pay the ransom for who?
Us.
Those who would be redeemed. First, the ransom had to be paid, and then they were redeemed. Is it making any sense?
Yes, sir.
Any questions thus far?
This is very similar language to the Seder readings at Passover.
That's correct.
Hmm.
You have a copy of the Haggadah, right? That I did?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a reference point there.
Yeah.
I did that about 15 years ago or better.
Okay.
Now, I use these verses and where we've gone so far to build a little premise foundation. The key to everything that I've been sharing with you for the past year or two, even what I've been sharing with you since we've known each other, is the Most High's Kodesh. There's a tremendous amount written about his Kodesh all throughout the Tanakh. Most people misunderstand it the way it's written about in the Brit Hadashah. Okay? But when you're reading about his Kodesh in the Tanakh, it can get quite illuminating. But this is the key for everything else, the other two. Okay? It's unceasing, It does not stop. It continues. It is because of the Kodesh within his words even, that when he says he will not break his covenant, and his word has to accomplish what he said and sent it out to do. So it all plays into the same central theme here. Now, if you put these different passages together, it's going to form an interesting premise and even an interesting puzzle that should not be difficult to figure out. If you keep in mind that first we needed to be ransomed and then redeemed. Now, who or what did we need to be ransomed from?
Disobedience to the Torah.
Say again.
Disobedience to the Torah.
We need to be ransomed from disobedience? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
That's not too bad. It's not quite correct, but it's not so bad. Rav Shaul, as well as a couple of prophets, state, without Torah, we would not know sin. But without Torah, we would not know how to gauge our loving obedience. Is this coming together yet? Now let's do a little reverse engineering. In the house of Israel, because you've become so Torah observant, the Torah itself has had to push you out of the house of Yaakov into the house of Israel. And then you got a whole new blueprint of how to grow in all of his fruit of the Spirit to the point that Yeshua accepts it and opens the door to the kingdom to let you in. When the Most High reveals himself, such as he did to the young boy Shemuel, and then the Most High reveals Yeshua as his salvation.
I made a picture of it too, but I did that.
I'll bet you're right. Now, just consider house of Israel, they're growing in righteousness. They've already been fully Torah observant, so they're not sinning anymore, but they're still being grown in righteousness, his justification. So how is he growing them in that righteousness? You said it before already today, fruit of the Spirit. So when that fruit of the Spirit gets so much to where he fully justifies us and he's clothing us with righteousness, his justification, then it transitions from verse 10 to verse 11 in 2 Peter chapter 1. And he opens the door to the kingdom and invites us in. Remember, the definition of the kingdom is shalom. Anybody remember what else is there?
Righteousness, shalom, and joy in the Ruach.
Yes, shalom, Simcha, and Tzedakah. So he uses fruit of the Spirit from the kingdom to guide us into the entrance of the kingdom. Where in the kingdom we get the Tzedakah. It's like being taught from kindergarten everything you need to know to graduate high school. Now, considering what you read already, what is Yeshua's witnesses? What are they? For him to be able to invite us into the kingdom.
Heaven and earth.
What else? There's nothing wrong with that. But what else?
The sun.
There are two other witnesses.
And the moon.
One is the Ruach, because all throughout we're taught that we get a witness of the Spirit. And those are the fruits of the Spirit. Now, what's the other witness besides heaven and earth and the Spirit? What witnesses did Yeshua use when they asked him about his witnesses?
The Father.
There you go. And he presented that all throughout in his public teaching. I came to do what he told me to do. I came to say what he told me to say. How else would he be found to be worthy to be slain? Any question? Is it that time where you have to attend other things, Michael?
All right, it's getting close. We got a few more minutes.
Okay. Now, you know how he feels about keeping his covenant. You know how he feels about divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to break his covenant to divorce us. And he expects us not to break covenant to divorce. And if he's not going to divorce us, if he's not going to break covenant with us, even if we break covenant, does that mean he's let us go?
No.
And what prompts him to hold on to us?
His word.
What prompts him? He has a prompter that does that.
His set apartness.
That's a true statement, but what else is necessary?
His covenant. Itself.
Maybe Hannah will refresh her studies in the prophets, where the prophets it says that if at least one person is praying for you, interceding for you, you are not lost.
Okay.
Well, he just brought me to peace. Do we have any other questions? We'll continue this at a later time. You definitely need more of an understanding of his Kodesh and all of the applications there in order to be able to be satisfied with being Kadosh. Questions? Reflections?
How is this kadosh from? How is the feeling from being in this kadosh to separate from being, or how does it differ from the kodesh?
Ah, you're suggesting that both words are the same thing.
No, that's not what I'm saying. How are they separate?
Well, he makes us Kodesh because all Kodesh comes from him.
Right.
The state of being Kodesh, when seen from afar or being seen by somebody who's not experiencing Kodesh, they would call us by description Kadosh.
Okay.
If you were in the Mishkan and you were entering in through the door, and you would say that you were experiencing some Kodesh, and yet by the time you got to where the Ark of the Covenant is at, it says that there's even more Kodesh there than any place else in the Mishkan. It states, as we read, that the Most High can swear by his Kodesh. So even if we have it covering us, it still doesn't belong to us, it belongs to him.
Right.
That lets us know the only two ways we can be marked as belonging to him is either by having his name or by having his Kodesh. All yours, Michael.
Neat.
That it is.